Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here, and let's wake up the football gods. Wake up there this morning, guys. How's everybody doing on this Thirsty Thursday, New Year's Eve, and May? May everybody's 2021 be so much better than 2020. You know, I saw something on Instagram this morning. Make sure I hope I can get it right. It says, "How are you gonna be happy about getting past 2020 when next year is 2021?" As in 21, 20. Okay, all right, okay. It doesn't work. All right, so we got some good news yesterday or last night. If you were watching college football, we ended up seeing a sighting, and let me bring you that clip real quick here. He's
For
on.
you guys is Dak Prescott actually came here before the game and went in and visited with Dan Mullen. He was on crutches in that boot as he comes back from that ankle injury. I think it's really cool that he made time. That's the kind of relationship he has with Dan Mullen and Brian Johnson. For you guys is Dak Prescott actually came here before the game and went in and visited with Dan Mullen. He was on crutches in that boot as he comes back from that ankle injury. I think it's really cool that he made time. That's the kind of relationship he has with Dan Mullen and Brian Johnson.
Okay, so that's great news to see that he's up and about, you know, on crutches and everything else, that his leg is still attached. And we also know that Dak Prescott is at the facilities on a daily basis, still being part of that emotional leader of the team. And, you know, just chomping at the bit to get back. Now, of course, I'll deal with this a little bit later on today, but Colin Cowherd, who likes to stir stuff up. He likes to start controversy, and of course, you know, there's two kinds of fans at Cowboys. You're either a Dak fan or a Dak hater. No matter what happens, you will, of course, look for any reason to say he's no good or he's a bum, get rid of him. And I get that. And Colin Cowherd feeds on that kind of thing. You know, his whole thing is Dak just is not that good of a quarterback. He still believes that Carson Wentz, the amount of money that's paid to Carson Wentz, is great value, and that Carson Wentz is the greatest thing since sliced bread. That all of the problems with them, of course, are, you know, not Carson Wentz's fault. On the other hand, of course, you know, he points out that Andy Dalton now is winning. And it's true, he is winning right now. But we now have a defense that's taken the ball away 10 times. First 5 games of the season, I think we had 2. We have now Zeke Elliott running for 100 yards and Tony Pollard getting over 100 yards on the, you know, running the football, you know, which are things that help. We have special teams that are getting returns. All these things contribute to winning, and I'll deal with Colin Cowherd later. That just is what it is. He kind of messed up my live stream, my conversation last night. But what I actually want to get to, regardless of what happens this weekend, Alex Smith is returning. He's going to play. We don't know how effective he's going to be, but he will be playing in probably one of the most important games he's played in a very, very long time. It's literally trying to save a franchise. Washington wins, they get in. It's that simple. The Eagles have really nothing to play for other than pride and keeping somebody from partying on, you know, their field. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but we, of course, have to take care of our own business. At some point, it's going to be the off season for us. And what I want to look at here is we've got to start figuring out this roster. In fact, we got to figure this out sooner than later. Free agency starts middle of March. We have to designate franchise tag people before the end of February. If you're going to hold on to Dak Prescott and make him a franchise player because you're not going to get the long-term deal done, we have to determine that by the end of February. They have to put that tag on. And players that we want to keep, we either have to let them go or we got to get a contract with them. And so we're going to have to decide who is viable on this team. Now, I want to pose a question, and I'm not recommending anything here. I'm not. But you have to look at, I only have so much money to go around. What are the important cogs that I want to keep? Which ones will be too expensive to hold on to? Aldon Smith has been an incredible. Why am I getting all these ads up on here? Let's get rid of some of these. Aldon Smith has been an incredible find for the Cowboys. The way he started out the season was amazing. I mean, he came out like gangbusters. And we looked and said, man, that was a great deal. And as we look at the numbers right here, he's got, on this season, he's got 5 sacks, 31 solo tackles, and 0 forced fumbles. And as we go down, let's look at the total numbers. This gives you the whole picture of everything, game by game. You look at the tackles for a loss. That, early in the season he had 1 up in here. He's got a few more down here. He's got 3 tackles for a loss on the season. Quarterback hits. That first game he had 2. His third game he had 4. But it's kind of tailed off a bit. Forced fumbles, we don't have any in there. But it's been a good season for a guy that you literally are paying, chump change. He's only getting $1.5 million with the incentives, I think, this year. He's not going to get the big incentive, which was 13.5 sacks. But he's been really, really good. And we have to decide, and let's go down to the cumulative scores here. So 2020, 58 is his number, 15 games, 2 pass defense, 48 combined tackles. There we go. 48 combined tackles, 31 solos, which is great, 17 assists, 5 tackles for a loss, 12 quarterback hits. Those are great numbers. Now, the question is, are those great numbers that you're going to go ahead and pay? Because here's what happened to us last year. We had Robert Quinn. We traded with Miami, I think, a 6th-round draft pick for Robert Quinn, where people said that guy's, past his prime. He ends up with 11.5 sacks in 14 games. He signs a $75 million contract with the Bears. $75 million, 5 years. That's a lot of bread. Now, I'm not sure that Aldon Smith will command that much, but when you think that Tyrone Crawford right now is getting $9.5 million, $9.8 million, you got to figure that Aldon Smith is going to be at least in the $10 million range. I'm just assuming that. And I guarantee you that there will be people out there that will look and say, yeah, I'll take a flyer on him as well. So the question is, do you re-sign Aldon Smith knowing that you're going to pay him probably $10 million or so a year? Or do you let him go, in which case somebody signs it to a big contract and you get maybe a 4th or a 5th round compensatory pick? This is the question. Because he is 32 years of age. Now, on the other side, we have, one other, let's see, I'm going to go back up here. One other thing, too, I want to point out here is the percentages. Aldon Smith is truly a starter. You look at this, 74, 81, 79, 71, 84, 66, 61. That's the lowest amount of snaps he played in a single game against Washington, 61% of the time. He was out on the field a lot. Okay, I want to go to Randy Gregory. Now, I know a lot of you will say, but this guy can't stay on the field. Well, they did change the rules. They changed the rules on marijuana. It's not the bugaboo that it used to be. So we're looking at Randy Gregory, and you're going to look and say, well, he's got 3.5 sacks. He's got 15 solos and 3 forced fumbles. Well, Aldon Smith's got a sack and a half more. Okay. He's got a lot more solo tackles, and Randy Gregory definitely has them in forced fumbles. But the interesting thing is, when we start looking at Randy Gregory's not even a starter. The most amount of snaps he played was 61%. You remember what we were looking at with Aldon Smith? Aldon Smith is playing like 74, 81. His lowest snaps in a game was 61%. You're talking about Randy Gregory not playing more than half of the snaps on the team. And when you look at some of these early games where he first just got in here, he wasn't doing a whole lot, but he was still consistent. But he has been coming on like gangbusters as the season's gone on. Last week, 1.5 sacks, 6 solo tackles. Tackles for losses, he's got more tackles for losses than Aldon Smith does. And you start looking at this and saying, this guy needs to play more. So the question is, with Randy Gregory, do you hold on to Aldon Smith and Randy Gregory? That would be great if we could. That would be a luxury to be able to say that we've got two great defensive ends that we can put in there, provided that you can get Aldon Smith for a reasonable contract. But you have to look at this as, I only have so many resources to go around, and I can't put too much money in one spot. Me, I believe the defensive line is the key. And if you can have great pass rushers that can get upfield, that can do damage, that can wreak havoc, you can't have enough of those guys. But if that means that I keep those two and then I have to let go or an offensive lineman or a cornerback, then you got to look at that and say which is going to be the better case. But as Randy Gregory, he's got to become a starter. When you look at the fact that he has done the damage that he has, where he didn't have a training camp, he did not have an off season, that he's been away from football for a year and a half, you got to look at this and say, I've got a piece here that's really, really inexpensive right now that is playing well, that does not have the mileage on it. And you got to look and say that Randy Gregory is definitely more of the future than Aldon Smith. I'd like to keep both. Definitely keep both. But you're going to look at this and say, if Randy Gregory keeps coming on, you may look differently and say Aldon Smith may be the odd man out. We'll have to wait and see what happens. This will be one of those tough decisions that the team is going to have to make after the end of next week. And best believe that, just because the season ends for the Cowboys, maybe this weekend or, maybe they make the playoffs, the work really starts the day after that, figuring out what kind of team this is going to be, what coaches are going to be here, what system's going to be here. There's a lot of work that's going to go into before that March 15th free agency deadline. All right, y'all. Hope you guys have a great day. Hope you guys have a great New Year's Eve, and be safe out there. If you go out, please don't drink and drive. Be careful. Keep your social distance. We want to see you here in 2021. I'm Mark Holmes, and I'll see you soon.